our channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the territory of the Russian Federation, because during the previous 12 hours the Ukrainians carry out massive missile and drone strike all over the entire territory of the central Russia and the southern Russia. And we will discuss these strikes in details. And first and the most important attack took place in the central part of Russia. We are going to talk about the settlement of Izhevsk. And in this video we can see how Ukrainian drone attacked the Russian factory that Russians most likely use for the production of drones and missiles. As you can see, as a result of Ukraine attack, there was very heavy explosion, and here we can see the consequences of Ukrainian attack. And the thing is that drones have attacked the Russian city of Izhevsk in Udmurtia, which is located 1,300 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. So basically from the border of with the area of the special military operation zone. So let's calculate the distance once again. So according to sources, the distance between this plant and, let's say, the city of Sumy, the nearest point that Ukrainians can use to attack the city of Izhevsk, and we see that the distance is around 1,366 kilometers, which means that this information is correct. But you know that during the previous week we got lots of very interesting updates from the territory of Kazakhstan.
You have something in you. Brave. Never let it go.
The Russians, several Russian sources reported that during the previous week, several probably cases were noted that some Ukrainian drones used the airspace of Kazakhstan to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. We need to understand that Ukrainians use the territory of Kazakhstan not like this way, to send drones somewhere from the central part of Ukraine, then through the southern part of the Russian Federation, then through the western part of Kazakhstan, and then, let's say, deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, its central part. No, this is not the case. This is not how Ukrainians use the territory of Kazakhstan for attacks. Everything is much more simple. The Ukrainians most likely during the previous days, months, managed to establish or to create several, let's say, polygons or several areas on the territory of the northern Kazakhstan, completely protected, completely hidden from Kazakhstan authorities, from their military forces and their intelligence. They have sleeping cells, something like this, Ukrainian sleeping cells on the territory of the northern Kazakhstan. It's the same situation with the strategical aviation when the Ukrainians use just regular trucks to attack them. So we can see, we believe that something like this is happening right now on the territory of Kazakhstan. And now Ukrainians, after they managed to create all these sleeping cells, they can use anytime these sleeping cells to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, but this time not from the western part, not from the territory of the special military operation zone, but from the southern area, from the state of Kazakhstan. And obviously the Russians don't expect these roads of attack, so that is why the Russian air defense is not ready for these attacks. So this is the case, we believe, because when talking about this, let's say, roads of attack from the south in the northern direction, in this case the distance, let's say, from the settlement of Aksayev on the territory of Kazakhstan and, let's say, the settlement of Izhevsk would be just 600 kilometers, which is 2 times less than the territory of this from that attack from the territory of the special military operation. Obviously, this is a very big international scandal between Russia and Kazakhstan. We got yesterday several reports that the Kazakhstanians began their, let's say, intelligence and counterintelligence operation with the purpose to discover all these sleeping cells, with the purpose, of course, to destroy them or at least to provide the Russians additional information. So very interesting thing, because now Ukrainians understand that they are rebelled, and if the Ukrainians are being rebelled, most likely they will start using these sleeping cells, let's say, massively. Now let's talk back to the territory of the special military operation. First of all, during the previous nights, the United States of America and NATO countries were carrying out the reconnaissance operation in the Black Sea. They were trying to discover or to target the possible upcoming missile strike, and that missile strike took place, by the way, during the previous night. And also we got reports that something happened with this drone. It was the Italian RQ-4D Phoenix reconnaissance drone. He sent some signal that he lost communication with the center, and then he returned back. And right after the NATO drone returned back, the Ukrainians began their massive missile attack all over the entire territory of Donetsk region and Luhansk region. When talking about the city of Luhansk, we have just this picture, and in this picture we can see that the Ukrainian armed forces are attacking Lugansk. Explosions and gunfire are heard. The army is repelling an attack by Ukraine attack drones. There are several fires. So this is the only article we managed to find by the morning of the 1st of July of 2025. And as for the city of Donetsk, there were more explosions. The Ukrainians attacked the settlement of Yasinovate. We have this picture. Some industrial zone was damaged and destroyed. Furthermore, we have this picture, another explosion, another consequences of attack. And the most important is that according to information we have, this time the Ukrainians attacked the city of Donetsk with cruise missiles. So this is exactly the moment we're talking about. In this video, we can see a cruise missile that was flying above the city of Donetsk, trying to destroy and to get the target. And this is very interesting because the Ukrainians, they don't have cruise missiles. The only cruise missiles they have is Storm Shadow or probably Scalp. Maybe we are talking about Taurus. Maybe in this video we can see an attack carried out by the Ukrainians with the Taurus missiles. We don't know for sure. But one thing we know for sure, that this is a cruise missile. Maybe this is a cruise missile of Ukrainian production, because if you remember, the Western countries were talking a lot that they were planning to establish some productions, military production and factories on the territory of Ukraine itself. So trying to make everything that nobody will blame them or make them responsible for any attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. And this here we can see in these pictures the consequences of this night's attack of the armed forces of Ukraine. So very interesting. Obviously, this is another round of escalation. Most likely the Russians will carry out retaliatory strike these upcoming days, and this strike is going to be very, very powerful, most likely.
Hvert landshold, hver karrierestart, hvert gram selvtillid, hver drøm, hver professionel, hvert fællesskab, hver sejr. Salling Group går på banen til EM i Schweiz med DBU og kvindelandsholdet. Sammen gør vi hver dag bedre.
Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, during the previous 12 hours, we had lots of very interesting updates. And first, let's talk about the Gulay-Polye direction. According to information we have, by the morning of the 1st of July of 2025, the Russians managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Malinovka. So this village was captured and secured by the Russians by the morning of the 1st of July. We are waiting for additional report of the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. But if this information is correct, then most likely, first of all, the Russians will continue attack and offensive further in the direction of the settlement of Poltavka and in the direction of the settlement by the name of Olgovsk, with the purpose to maintain the lines, to shorten the distances, and to outflank the settlement of Uspenovka from the south. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russians continue their breakthrough in the direction of Velika Mikhailovka, on the Velika Mikhailovskaya direction. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians secured several tree lines and fields between Malinovka and Voskresenka. So these are the changes on the ground. According to several pro-Russian resources, the Russians managed to shorten the distances significantly. Furthermore, when talking about the village of Maliivka, we see that the Russians answered the village itself from the eastern part. When talking about Voskresenka, the Russians managed to get these farms that are located to the south of the settlement. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russians answered the village of Pidubna. We discussed this information yesterday, but yesterday this report was confirmed just by pro-Ukrainian sources. This morning of the 1st of July, several pro-Russian resources confirmed the same information. So as we can see, the Russians are trying to take all these settlements, Malievka, Voskresenka, Mirna and Pidubna, under complete Russian control, and for these purposes the Russians are attacking this territory at least from 3 directions: from the south, from the east, and from the northeast. So let's wait and see what is going to be next, but due to the situation in the villages of Zirka, Yalta and Zaporozhye, these villages were taken within a week. We expect that Ukrainians will not be able to stabilize the situation, and we believe that Ukrainians would be forced to fall back further in the western direction until the river of Vovcha. Maybe the Ukrainians will try to stabilize the situation exactly along this river. Now let's discuss the situation in the Novopavlovka direction. As you can see, we have changes on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, we have 2 important updates. First update was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. The Ukrainians from Deep State team published that the Russians haven't managed to establish complete control with the settlement of Dachna, that there are still Ukrainian forces there. And probably 2 or 3 hours after Deep State published their article, the Russians of 114th Brigade published their own video where we can see how Russians were taken and were fighting for the village of Dachna itself. In this video we can see lots of episodes how the Russians were attacking the settlement from the south, from the east. In this episode we can see how Russians were clearing trenches and fortifications, and of course in the final part of the video, as usually, we can see lots of episodes with Russian flags established in different parts of the settlement. So one of the episode once again was geolocated, let's say, on the territory of this stronghold. The Russians were storming this area. Another video was geolocated in the most western part of the settlement. The Russians raised their flag exactly in this point. Based on this video, we have adjusted the entire dense network of the fortifications to the north of Alexeyevka, Zelenokuta, Novoukrainka, and Dachna itself, of course. So now we understand that Ukrainians currently have no chances to hold this pocket anymore, and we expect that during the upcoming hours, not even days, the Ukrainians would abandon their positions in this pocket completely. The Russians will shorten the distance, and the Russians will have everything they need to continue offensive operation further in the northwestern directions towards the settlement by the name of Novopavlovka. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon.